nurse navigator. It's been hugely successful.
Sue Moroney.
Mr Speaker, and one of the highlights of this debate so far has to be the bizarre contribution from John Banks that we heard before, where he, when he's not got amnesia, he's becoming a soothsayer, and he confidently predicted that David Sherrill would be the Leader of the Opposition in the 50th Parliament. Well, I've got news for John Banks. This is the 50th Parliament. This is actually the 50th Parliament, so you might well be right. But I think even more telling was his very confident prediction that he would be back in the 50th Parliament as an MP, John Banks. So I think he knows that he's toast at the next election, because all he could be confident about was that he would be President in the 50th Parliament. That's the one we've got right now, so there's a bit of news for John Banks. But the other bit of news for John Banks is a bit of a picture that I think tells us everything that we need to know about charter schools. It's doing the rounds on Facebook at the moment. It's got a picture of John Banks on it, and it says, "Charter schools. One rich white man wants to set up schools for poor brown kids to make a profit for his friends." And I think that's all we need to know about charter schools, because that's exactly what it is, and that National Party's backing him all the way, because that is the agenda of John Banks. He's just interested in his mates making a profit out of our education system. This has nothing to do with improving achievement in education, because if it was to do with improving achievement in education, then that government would want the best quality teachers in front of every school and every classroom in the land. What we know is that what that government really wants to do is, yes, have unqualified staff, and I'm not going to even call them teachers actually, in charter schools, because if they're not qualified to teach, they are not teachers. They are not teachers if they are not qualified to teach. And this idea that any old person can get up and understand the art and the magic of teaching and actually improve successful educational outcomes for our children only lives over there on the government benches, because every parent up and down the country knows that this government's completely out of touch with what is required for improving the quality of our education system. And when it comes to arguing for better quality education, then the arguments for that are to be found on the Labour benches, not on the National Party benches, because we know that deep down in their hearts they want to increase class sizes. That's their big answer to improving quality of our education. They want to improve class sizes, but only increase class sizes, Mr Speaker, but only after they have dumbed down the teaching profession. Now, they started it in early childhood education. That's where they started. They cut the funding for qualified teachers in early childhood education. They started dropping the standards at the very beginning for the youngest children who need it the most. That's where they started, and they did that in 2010. And I think they're pretty clever because they got away with that. But the parents up and down the country were not prepared to let them get away with that ridiculous idea that somehow increasing the number of children in a class, causing that teacher to have many more interactions with many more children, would actually somehow be better for all of our children. Now, they're the only ones who believe that. They still believe it. They still do believe it. And I think the blank faces opposite tell me everything I need to know. They just think they got the cell job wrong on it, actually. They still believe that increasing the number of children in the classes of our primary and intermediate schools and our secondary schools will actually somehow improve the quality of education. Well, that is a nonsense. They are now completely exposed on the nonsense about what they think about education, because to them it's all about cost. They see education as a cost. Here in the Labour Party, we know that education is an investment, and not any old investment, but one of the best investments that any government can make in the future of its country. It is absolutely clear, because of that government's poor performance in education, that it does regard it as a cost to be contained, not an investment, not an opportunity to be invested in. But they also misled the public around their intentions around league tables, because what was their spokesperson, their Minister, of Education saying before the election last year? Anne Tolley said, "I want to make it very clear to the member that the Ministry of Education will not be publishing league tables. I will say that again to the member, the Ministry will not be publishing league tables." And that was Anne Tolley. She's just agreeing that she said exactly that. What are the government planning to do now but publish league tables?
Scott.